Hello, everybody. Let's get this adjusted real quick. And tell me if the microphone is loud enough or not so we can get started. I'm going to test it real quick. That's where I usually have it. If it's too soft, just let us know. You might not know what I'm saying. Ha! If you can't hear me. Anyway, and I do also expect there to be, sounds good. Okay, thank you, Karen. I also expect there to be less people this time just because I only set it up like a half hour ago. So we'll see if anybody shows up. Thanks to you guys for being here. Cardo says, "Hi, Eddie. Hope everything went well with your mother's surgery." That did go well. She's recovering. But thank you for asking. Hello, Karen. Karen says, "Sounds good to me." All right. So today we've got a guest, my Uncle Jeff. And I'm going to start this off by asking him to introduce himself, tell them about who you are, and such and such. Okay?
I'm Uncle Jeff. I was raised in a musical household, and from age 5 is when I started playing piano, and my mother would take me around to nursing homes to play music, and they would give you cookies and milk, and who could ask for anything more than that? As high school came around, I decided I really enjoyed music, and had a 10-piece band when I was a 10th grader in high school. Now, believe it or not, I was very, very shy. I was scared to talk to people. I loved music and I loved to play it. And so we played for Grange Hall dinner for $10 a man. That was our standard fee. This was right before they invented electricity. And the guy comes up to me and he says, "Hey, listen, you guys sounded good." He says, "Well, listen, before you pack up, it's time to sing happy birthday to the governor of the state of Pennsylvania."
Oh.
And so he says, "Who'll be doing that?" And everybody's kind of hemming and hawing and hiding their heads. And so I heard these magic words. "There's an extra 20 in it for whoever will do it." And I said, that'll be me.
Uh-huh.
And the first time I ever sang in public was happy birthday to the governor of the state of Pennsylvania.
Wow.
The cool thing is, haven't stopped since. Well, my wife might disagree with that, but I still play and sing piano, sax, trumpet, trombone, vocals, all those good things. The thing I like most about music is there's so many kinds of it, and you can have fun with almost all of them.
Right. And then you took a slight detour at one point.
Ran a side rail. Yeah, we ran a side rail. Somewhere around 1988, I was asked to pastor a church in Vermont. And I said, "You guys are nuts." I said, "I've never done this before." And he said, "Well, take your," I said, "Tell you what, I'll do it from now, October, till the end of the school year." And I did. And it went well. And when the school year ended, I did not go back to school. I went down to seminary in Greenville, South Carolina. And so I've been a preacher for 30 plus years, and I've been a teacher for 40 plus.
Yeah. So just because I think they'll enjoy this story, you told me a story about how you decided to go into seminary, and it had to do with a New Year's Eve gig. You don't remember that story?
Most of my stories have a basis in truth, which helps you, remember them.
You had a gig on the other side of the mountain.
Okay.
And then when you were coming back,
I got it. It was snow covered. It was coming back over Rutland, Vermont. And I mean, it was dropping the snow, and I had PBS on the radio, and I heard a flugelhorn solo. And it was Bobby McFerrin.
Oh, nice.
Doing a song called Peace. maybe Horace Silvertune, I'm not sure, but the title was Peace. And he is humming or buzzing a flugelhorn, and I really thought it was a flugelhorn. It was the most beautiful sound I'd ever heard. And now it's the snow's getting thicker, so I pulled off the road to actually listen to it. And basically, I think at that point, I said something, did one of those make a deal with God. If you get me home in one piece, I'll do whatever you want. And it was all downhill, so I got home. A couple 180s here and there, but I got home.
So yeah.
Was that close?
Yeah, that's so anyway. Now what I wanted to focus on in this Q&A, and I encourage you guys to have questions. The fact that he's a multi-instrumentalist, I get questions about playing trumpet and other instruments all the time. And I can't answer those questions because I don't play other instruments. So if anyone has any questions about that, and I'll have some questions if nobody asks. And then the other thing is you have taught band for so many years. And
27.
27.
Yeah.
Okay.
4 years I did just vocal.
Okay.
But the 27 years had band. Every one of the 27 and the vocal years as well had 7th and 8th graders.
Okay.
Which either drive you crazy or keep you young, one or the other.
Which one for you?
It's drove me crazy.
So, can you describe to them what your general approach is to starting beginners?
Interestingly, think about band directors you all have had over the years. Some were perfect for high school. Mm-hmm. Some were perfect for elementary, getting you started. Mm-hmm. Some were in that middle, help you grow range. I did every grade from 3rd grade through 12 in those 31 years of teaching. The years I liked the best, seriously, were the ones where you take a kid who goes, I want to play this. Anybody in your family play one? No. Okay. What's that called? Trumpet? Close enough. But you take them from they can't make a sound on it to where in a month or hey, I know this song, and then they start to enjoy it and play for other people as well. So when you're taking them from scratch, can't do a thing, to being able to play something, have it recognizable, even enjoyable, that's my joy.
Wonderful. So what's your general approach to make that happen?
I have fun with it.
Really?
Yeah. I had a class in an elementary school, beginning band class, 4th grade beginning band class, and we had 68 kids. Every instrument. I mean, we had no violins. We had a good-looking violin teacher, and then we had an ugly band director, so it worked out pretty well. The thing is here's 68 kids in a room. If you keep them busy, if you keep them going, if you keep them listening, you're fine. When you hit those dead air spaces, and then the drummers are throwing a kid out the back window, that's what you try to avoid. That you keep it going, keep it lively, and then let them know that you appreciate their progress, and encourage your parents as well. Because most of the times you hear that, all I hear are the squeaky clarinets. I said, well, the cure for that is this hearing aid right here. But I think that's it. I had any level. I loved it when the students pick an instrument. I loved it when the students would enjoy what they were playing. You're playing a flute. You can play it so technical. It's as dry as toast and you can't spit. But you get every note right, but you're not, it's not music. It's not fun. It's not pretty. It's not lifting any spirits to speak of. I had a girl named Wendy who was the best flute player I ever heard. I mean, technically. Mm-hmm. And if she made a mistake, it destroyed her.
Sure.
It just destroyed her. She's in competition. Okay, man, I got 3 pages down, last line, done. And she was done. And she might as well walked off the stage. In her senior year, she finally made the all-state band up in Vermont. And what we worked on was play your flute like it's a song. Play it like you're singing these words. And that works for any instrument. You're playing a saxophone. You can do the bend with the lip real nice, a lot easier than trumpet. And so play it like you're singing it, like it means something to you. And vocally, so you're singing a song in Italian, you got no idea what it means. Fib, look like you know what it means.
Sure. That's right.
And it makes it more fun for you. It makes it more entertaining for the audience. So I think that's a big part of it.
Right. Very cool. Yeah. I'll tell you what, I got a question from a friend of mine who I won't say his name because he didn't ask me to do this. But that's not it. He is teaching some beginners, but he stopped teaching the trumpets. And he said, when do you teach them to tongue? Do you teach them the tongue at the beginning, or do you teach them the tongue later? And the reason he's asking is because the guy that is teaching the trumpet now, they've been playing now for 2 or 3 months, and they're still not tonguing. What do you say to that?
Too long. You can teach basic tonguing can come in second week they're playing, really. It's how you're going to start the sound on it. You're just going to, or are you going to start it with, we can make tonguing seem much more difficult than it is. But if you can say two, congratulations, you've just tongued three notes on your trumpet. Now, can you go two, ooh? Now you've gone that next step, but your tongue's not doing anything different. And if you know that if they're 5 familiar notes to you, at that level, second month, you have 6 notes you can play. When you do that, you're not having to think that much about the tonguing aspect of it. Saxophone was one of the hardest ones for me to teach tonguing. Then flute would work because you were cutting the air off right here, and it was real quick and personal. Mm-hmm. But saxophone, you listen to saxophone players. There are saxophone players that are pros that you couldn't tell if they were tonguing. It all smears together. So that was a little harder for me to teach that one, that aspect. But no, I would say tonguing. It's simple little exercises. Double, 8th notes, 16th notes, work triplets, and if you want in between them, or do it on a scale, up and down. But keep it simple. Make sure that if they know the scale, now we work the tongue in, and we make it as routine as second nature as possible.
So I think where his other co-teacher is getting this from is there's a new culture of trumpet pedagogy out there that is terrified to do anything that creates what they're calling body tension. Okay, so I think because I'm like a connoisseur of trumpet pedagogy.
Okay.
And I've heard people talking about how the students should start off learning with the syllable poo.
Poo.
That's how they start playing, as they think poo, 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 not tonguing.
Okay.
I'm not a big fan. There's a lot of stuff that school, if you want to call it a school, there's a lot of stuff that school teaches that, first of all, makes no sense whatsoever. Not that things in music need to make sense, but when you dig deep down into, one of the big things for me. Well, let me ask you before I tell you about this. Physically, what do you do when you accent? what happens physically to accent a note?
Two things. One is an actual. I mean, now this is me playing, not necessarily teaching it.
Mhm.
Two things. You actually stop the air for a second, and there's a buildup behind it. In other words, you're going to get that extra punch by breaking it and then reconnecting the air supply. That's one, and then the other is just the intentional increase of air behind the sound
From the abdomen.
Yeah, we'd hope so.
Right?
Yeah.
They teach you not to do that.
Yeah. How about that?
Because that will create body tension.
Oh yeah, I don't want body tension. I might not sleep tonight.
So now, that's part of that same culture, that same new school.
Yeah.
They called me old-fashioned.
Oh, that's sweet. Yeah.
When I looked,
I said, thank you.
When I asked people on Facebook about this, they said, man, that's old school. That's old school.
Mm-hmm.
Because what happened, let me tell you about this. I had a student that was trying to swing.
Trying to swing, okay.
And she could play at legato if there were no accents. If there were accents, it went back to the Ricky Tick. Da, 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 da. And I said, okay, okay. Now try to go back and do it legato again. She'd go back to legato and there's no accents. And I figured out. I said, and then I asked her, I said, what are you doing physically to accent? And they're being taught to just tongue harder.
Tongue harder. Sure makes triple and triple tonguing tough, doesn't it? There was I'm going to give you a name you probably have not heard of. Ed Sueda, Sueta. Ed Sueda is a 6'4" guy, and he plays piccolo.
Okay.
And he
not piccolo trumpet, piccolo.
Piccolo, yeah. And so when he comes off the airplane carrying his little piccolo, everybody looks at him rather oddly. And he had two different books on rhythms and playing rhythms, and the tonguing was in there, and what the syllables he picked, not poo, because that to me that has a real spatial delay to it, but the system he taught for rhythm I thought was phenomenal. You say in your mind or in the air, you say in your airflow what you want to come out, and after 4 or 5 tries through the line, it does. And again, then you're just playing this naturally and not having to think about it all the time. It was a very good counting system that he had in his books. I don't know if they're still on the market. I've been retired for 10 years now. Loved every minute of it.
So yes, this idea. Now with her, what I took what she was telling me online, and I asked on Facebook, I said, is this a thing? Is this the thing where they're just told to? And apparently that's the new school, right? And I asked these people, what do you do when you have a slurred accent? And they're like, they don't have an answer because they're told not, the accents don't come from here. Have you ever heard of a book called Grokuk? Well, written by Grokuk. It's a trumpet technique book. He used to be in the Chicago Symphony.
No. I can say no with a clear conscience.
He has, and I keep telling people that I want to do a video on this. He has an explanation of the different kinds of accents. Everything from the weighted note, so legato tongue, but with the right?
Extra sound, yeah.
Yeah, so something you would use like on the Great Gate of Kiev, right? Da, 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 right? It's a legato tongue, but a nice heavy beginning.
Ring to it. Yeah.
Chime
sound effect almost, yeah.
And then he has on the other extreme, he's got what he's calling a sforzando, which is the heavy with the tongue.
Mm-hmm.
Heavy accent from here with a heavy tongue. And that makes sense to me. And this is actually what I was taught, right? From every teacher I ever had. So when they say that's old school, they mean that's older than 10 years ago. Huh?
Yes. Yeah.
That's what they're saying
in other words, you're sitting here with a dinosaur. That's
so. But yes, it's amazing to me, and I'm sure that other instruments are having the same fake revolution going on. But with the trumpet world, like you said, thank you very much. Old school, thank you very much, because the new stuff that's coming out, I don't think has any value to it. It's based on fear, really. The way they present it, it's a fear of having body tension. Anyway, so any questions from you guys about Karen says hi, Uncle Jeff. Any questions about the playing different instruments? Karen says, my band director splits us in half and makes us hum notes before we play. Supposed to help us get it in our heads, I think. What do you think about that?
Where's that? Hum? Was that word you said? Is it up here?
Yep.
Point to it for me.
Right there.
Okay, got it. Huh. As in, you would hum an 8-bar phrase to yourself?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think she's saying that they do it as a group.
Yeah, but it's an 8-bar phrase, and you're going to just hum that phrase. Mm-hmm. I think that's fine.
Yeah,
I think there could be some real value to that.
Yeah, I agree with that.
The playing an instrument. So they'll say, "Well, what's the right instrument for me to play?" The one you love, the one that the sound captures you. That's the one. So how come you play a bunch of different stuff? There's an extra $20 in it for take you back in the story. So I just like the variety aspect of it. And somebody says, well, what's your favorite instrument? Well, if I'm in the house alone, I want to play the piano. Mm-hmm. Because you take your melody, right? You're humming it if you want in your mind. You whatever words it would have had are in there. And you play. Okay, now you just hit a wrong note. What do you mean I hit a wrong note? Right, that sharp's not in that chord. Errol Garner was asked on the Tonight Show by Johnny Carson. He said, "Wait, Errol, what are you doing? You hit a wrong note." And Errol goes, "I use it. I use it," and it makes sense. And then regarding singing, he was also asked on that same show, "How come you don't sing? You just sit there and groan and grunt." He says, "Why don't you sing?" He says, "My voice is worse than Louis Armstrong's." But he's sitting there humming as he plays piano. Oscar Peterson hummed and grunted when he played.
That's right.
So are they wrong? No, that's their style.
Right. There's a lot of classic recordings where the piano player you hear a solo.
Yep. Yeah. I saw some body tension there. Though. You might want to relax a little bit more as you're playing that 4/8 piece.
Oh my.
So
let's talk about switching instruments, because let me preface this a little bit. I tell my students that I don't believe they should practice every day. And my method of teaching, I call it the art of accumulative practice.
Okay.
That what you do, the way you practice, accumulates over time. Now, with someone who plays all these different instruments, do you feel compelled to practice all of them every day?
Nope.
When you have to play trumpet,
Got it. I have an actual trumpet gig coming up.
Very nice.
On the November for the veterans. And and now I will take it out and just make sure that I got the range. In. Yeah, because the bugle calls, where they're written, send you up high. I might cheat and do bugle calls with 1 and 3. I've never had anybody complain if I do that. But we'll be doing patriotic things, a national anthem, and 2 different bugle calls I have to do.
Okay.
And for that, I'll take it out maybe in the week ahead of time, maybe twice, 3 times. Just get it in the ear, in the fingers, and then go and enjoy.
And you don't find, like, how often do you have to play sax one day, trumpet the other day?
I like to. I have it in the room where I can if I want. I'm in the big band right now, and I'm playing second tenor. I hadn't played tenor in over 15 years. Had it fixed up, took it out, put it together, played it, and I said, "Oh, this is fun." I had been playing alto in that band, and alto is even more fun because it's lighter.
Right.
But just enough to remember some of the nuances where the side keys are. They're slightly different for the different instruments. Where are they? On trumpet, there's that range thing, and really for me, 2 or 3 times ahead on a gig, I'm there. I have been blessed that my lip doesn't wear out.
But that's my theory, though. I don't think if you practice correctly, the lip doesn't
wear out. Yeah.
So anyway, now
I do try to piano. I hit a spell when the pandemic hit where I wasn't playing anywhere. There was no opportunity.
Of course.
And what I noticed on piano was when I came back and then to play, it was like, what are these pieces of lumber on the ends of my fingers? And literally, as I'm in my 70s, so now arthritis creeps in. I try to play piano at least a half hour a day, and it's for 2 reasons. One, to keep them things loose and get a little bit of dexterity there, and 2, because I like to play.
Right, of course.
Yeah. So, but that has helped me continue to play. I reached a point right before the pandemic where I was about ready to stop altogether. My electronic pianos, they now weigh 47 pounds. I found one it weighs 24 pounds, and I love it. Sounds good. Easy to carry. And so, well, you were at a job with me the other night, or at a rehearsal the other night, and I went in thinking I was playing sax. And they go, "Hey, I need a piano tonight." Yes, sir. I'll be glad to help.
By the way, speaking of piano, Uncle Jeff is the one who played on the album that we did. We call it Rivers of Life. So if you guys want to hear the 2 of us playing together, it's on YouTube, it's on Spotify, it's on all the streaming services. Rivers of Life. I think it comes up if you search my name or his name, because the way I got it listed, it's all 3 of us on there.
Yeah.
If
they have trouble with rodents in their house, one song on that album even has a vocal by me. And you start that, and they scatter. They just out the door.
Oh my! So anyway, now, do you feel like you have to have a different mindset for the trumpet, or is it all the same? How do you approach switching?
Interesting. If I'm playing the Hummel on the trumpet, then I do have a mindset in mind behind it. If I'm playing Here's That Rainy Day on a flugelhorn, It's an entirely different, much more relaxed, much more relaxed mindset. One of the things I just added, I play in a 7-piece Dixieland band,
Uh-huh.
and one of the things I just added is Basin Street Blues.
Mhm.
I'll play trumpet with my right hand, and I'll play piano with my left hand. And we do it for so everybody has one novelty number as well. And to do that, I finally gave up and cheat. I take the piano button and I go transpose, ding, ding. All right. So now my left hand's playing in B flat, and but it's coming out C. And my right hand is I'm looking to see every number. It's all the same key in my mind. I'm not doing the split your head down the middle and try and tie it back together. So I do cheat on that way. I apologize. That's a lot of fun. I really enjoy. It's just a whole different thing to try and do two at the same time. Yeah, but a lot of fun.
Yeah. There used to be a band in Houston where everybody could double. I mean, double, like what you're talking about. The drummer's playing trumpet.
All at the same time.
Uh-huh.
Well, Roland Kirk, of course, was the one that he'd come out with 3 saxes and a flute around his neck, but he could only play 3 notes on each one.
Right.
Yeah. Ira Sullivan was one who inspired me. He played tenor and trumpet.
Oh, nice.
And I think he might still be living and working. Ira Sullivan. And then in Australia, James Morrison.
Uh-huh.
He has an album out.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. He plays every instrument on the album except drums.
Except drums.
Yeah. And he's one of the most fantastic trumpeters in the jazz field that I've ever heard. Right. And he has fun. He has fun. You can see it. You can see the sparkle and the joy.
Sure.
Yeah. It means a lot to me. I'll be playing a big band gig and you just want to, 18 guys and somebody will come up in the break and go, well, you're really enjoying yourself, aren't you? That makes my whole night.
Good.
Yeah. I'll play for $10 in dinner. Forget the 20 for happy birthday.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's my fault that we don't have as many people here. Not that I never want to sound like I don't appreciate the ones who are here, but yes.
You can really read that small print?
Yeah, if I cock my head this way, I can see that.
That's one of the toughest things about aging, and when you're playing a big band, right, versus stand down here. And the sax section stands up. Where's the music? It's still down there. And so I actually broke down and got a different set of glasses for gig playing. Try playing the piano with normal glasses and seeing the words. So I broke down.
So a lot of the guys that I work with are having the same issue. So it's kind of funny, really. A bunch of old guys. So,
with Coke bottles.
Yeah. So yeah. What else would you like to talk about? We normally go an hour. We don't have to go an hour. Does anybody have questions? I see we got some more people. Anybody have questions?
While they're thinking, my mother was an accordion player.
Oh, okay.
And she had never had any lessons whatsoever, learned completely by ear. And she'd do an hour and a half, just start playing music. And what do you want to hear? You call out the tune, just Sweet Georgia Brown. She plays it. And then, but if you said, gee, I don't know the name of it, but it goes like this. She would listen. She'd hear what you were singing, and she would play it along with you in your key. It was incredible.
So I remember when you guys did that.
Exactly. Yeah. That's how I got playing in different places.
So to me, I was just getting started. It was, I think, Grandma and Grandpa's
50th or so.
50th.
Yeah.
And you had a band there.
Oh yeah. That could be.
And I remember someone calling a song and they said, "Do you know it?" You said, "No, but we'll play it anyway."
Yeah, come on.
And actually they played it anyway.
There you are. She went and took Myron Florin was the accordion player for Lawrence Welk, and
Okay.
so my mom carries her accordion on the trolley down to Philadelphia and catches him when he's in town. Says, "Could I have a lesson?" He says, "Ma'am, I don't do lessons." He says, "But since you brought your accordion this far," he says, "go ahead and play something for me." So she takes her accordion out. And she could do walking bass with her left hand on the accordion. And Myron Florin goes, "Ma'am, there's not much I can show you," which was quite a compliment. Well, now it's 10 years later, and I'm all graduated from college and living in a different state. We go home, and my mom had a gig. Okay, so she said, "Oh, come on, play with it." All right, so we go there, and somebody called a song out, and I'm sitting there holding my saxophone, and she looks over and she goes, "How come you're not playing?" I said, "Well, do you know what key you're in?" She goes, "Well, you went to college." So, by the way, and if that ever happens to you, the correct thing to do is play long half notes and change the one that might sound right next. Yeah, that you went to college, but she performed up into her 90s.
Wow.
Yeah, hour and a half concert. They had to bring the accordion out and put it on her. She couldn't get it back in the case.
Wow.
But hour and a half she would play, and it was just
Wow.
a delight. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll tell you what, if we don't get any more questions, we'll have to shut it down, I think. There's a lot going on. Oh, we got one. Thanks, Karen. I'm curious about the trumpet versus the flugelhorn. When does someone decide to get a flugelhorn?
When you hear a beautiful ballad played by a good brass man. I mean, that's what sold me. Kenton's band, they did some stuff with 4 flugels that had a richness to it, and then he did some of the mellophone type stuff too.
Sure.
But he did some stuff where all 4 would play the flugel, and it was the warmth that's there. I often to this day will play. I have a flugelhorn that I'll play a lot of times in church just because it's a little more mellow,
Mm-hmm.
and it's less likely to make Aunt Janice in the front row run out screaming.
So you're basically saying when you hear it,
you'll hear it and you go, "Man, I want to do that." Yeah, you get sold on. Now, did you play the flugel the other night at the rehearsal?
yes, I did some.
Okay, that white one.
That white one.
my
nice.
flugelhorn is now played by a good trumpeter.
Oh.
Yeah, I love it. I love that instrument. And it was a case of well, like I say, I thought it was Bobby McFerrin playing a flugelhorn on the mountain
Sure,
all night, but the sound just captures me. I love the sound of a beautiful flugel.
Yeah, I don't think there's a time limit on when you. So let's put it this way: you don't have to earn your way into a flugel, right? So it's basically the same horn, the same mechanics.
Yes,
it's a different feel.
Yes,
and also a different attitude.
Ooh,
right? Because it is so mellow that if you want, a lot of the subtle stuff can get lost. So you have to just slightly tongue a little bit harder. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
It can be too mellow for some situations, but you don't have to wait until it's time.
Let me ask you this. I have a nice trumpet. I have a nice flugelhorn. Do you have to reset your thinking if you're in the middle of a job, piece calls for flugelhorn? Do you have to reset your thinking, or is it gotten second nature to you?
Yeah, I don't. You know what? To me, I reset my thinking for every single song. Right? Every song has its. You know what? The maestro in the El Paso Symphony told us one time. He stops the orchestra, and I don't remember if it was the El Paso Symphony or if it was in the opera. because he did both. And I did both. But there was a point where he stopped the orchestra and he says, every piece of music has its own character. And you don't bring that, you don't do that character justice until you bring it to life.
Okay.
That piece has to come alive. So to me, that's my primary thought. And so when I switched to flugel, it's because that's how that's the sound I hear that brings that piece to life, right? There's some pieces that if you played it on flugel, it wouldn't, for me anyway, bring it to life.
Gotcha.
And vice versa. There's some things that if you play it on trumpet, it just can't sound right. Even though, like with my trumpet has a very flugel-like sound. Especially my newer one, Pudgy. But even that, it's still not quite flugel, you know. So that's, to me, that's how I approach it. I reset my mind, even in a different section of the song, if it changes.
Well, then to kind of be specific answering her question, if there are songs that you're playing somewhere, and you hear it and you go, man, that sounds nice on a flugelhorn. Well, when you get 3 of them, go out and buy the flugelhorn and put them in the repertoire.
So, one of the questions I get, and this is not what Karen's asking, but one of the questions I get is, what order do I get the instruments, right? And to me, that always depends on whether they're going to be classical or jazz, right? And how deeply classical, right? Are they going to try to be a career orchestra player? Then the second horn needs to be a C trumpet, right? So, and I'm talking now mostly about high school students, right? The high school students will say, because there's like 5, if they want to be professional trumpet players, there's like 5 horns they need to get, right? If they're going to be classical players.
Okay. Give me the 5 quick.
So B flat, C, E flat, piccolo, and flugelhorn.
I've never played an E flat.
Oh, really?
Well, I've played an E flat alto, but no, I've never played an E flat.
Okay. I've played one, never owned one. And nowadays, there's also the E flat cornet, because there's a movement in the United States towards British brass band.
Aha. Okay.
And the E flat cornet is a major instrument.
Yeah, it fills that notch between.
Makes me wish I had bought the $200 E flat cornet when I had a chance.
When it was $200.
When it was, because now that it's popular, they're not $200 anymore.
Yeah.
But yes, so that's a big question a lot of times. Do you get the C first or do you get the flugelhorn first? And to me, if we're talking about high school students, it depends on whether they're leaning towards jazz or leaning towards classical.
Mm-hmm. Jazz, flugel, classical.
Yes.
C.
The jazz guys can stop at the flugelhorn if they want, right?
Yes, we can.
So, yeah, that was a good question. But yes, the bottom line is you don't have to wait. You can get a flugelhorn whenever you want.
So it's 4th grade, and I played piano fairly well, and now it's time to pick your band instrument. And I picked, here comes, ready? Trumpet. No, you can't play trumpet. Your teeth aren't right for trumpet. You should do saxophone. So I played saxophone. My trumpet teacher, or the band director, was a trumpet player who knew nothing about woodwinds.
Oh.
And so my whole first year, 4th grade, I have my alto sax, and I'm squeaking like it was horrendous. And at the end of the year, Mr. M, we'll call him in case he's still living, Mr. M came up to me and says, you might want to consider quitting.
Oh.
All right. So I took his advice and ignored it. And and we took our saxophone, which was used when I got it, but took it to a repair place and got it fixed up. So now we go back in. It's the next year. You got figured out, don't you? And he says, wow, you must have really practiced over the summer. I said, no, sir. We had the instrument repaired. And I want to give the man credit. He apologized. He said, I'm sorry. He says, I should have been able to figure that out. He went and took a course in instrument repair.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And you want to talk about instant, what's the word, gratification? No, it's not quite right, but respect. Mm-hmm. That he would have done that. And he said, yeah, and took the repair course.
Very nice.
And so finally, it was 10th grade till I could play trumpet. And I played it in the orchestra in high school.
Wow.
Got it from a cousin. And the horn, Dizzy Gillespie's horn points up like this. My old ambassador, well, you could play in another room because it went like that. But his grandson still has that horn, still plays.
Oh, cool. That's very nice. That's very nice. Yeah.
The learned flute. It's a lot like sax. Okay, so I learned flute, and my lips are not good for flute. So if I said, "Oh, I just love a great flute," well, I would tell myself probably you should switch to another instrument. But I can play it, and it's a beautiful sound, especially when you got a nice piece of music. It's a nice soft band behind you. But it was on a gig where I learned to play flute. I show up for Bobby Darin concert and then the Union Band, and they open the book up, and the opening song says flute. I'm singing with a saxophone. And you go to the next song, and it says clarinet. It's still a saxophone. And literally, because I played piano, I could do the transposition quick enough to keep up with the rest of the band.
Oh, wow.
And not get fired.
Right, sure.
But boy, I lost a lot of weight. That gig just sweat. Downtown Motor Inn was where it was, in Downtown, Pennsylvania.
So what do you feel about the guy that said you can't play trumpet? Huh? So was he wrong?
Yeah, he was wrong.
Obviously, he was wrong, right?
He was wrong. Actually, in truth be known, I believe it would have been an aid to my teeth. I mean, look at Louis Armstrong; his teeth go back. I think it would have been an aid to.
Oh, is that why he was saying it? Because of the shape of your teeth?
Yeah, the teeth, and yeah.
Oh.
Now, actually, I ended up playing baritone horn before I played trumpet. And I love the baritone horn because it's warm. It's the sound of a male human voice. And I just love the euphonium or baritone horn. But I did it in treble clef. And then when I finally saved up enough money to get a decent trumpet, then away I went.
So that was actually a prominent practice for a long time, right? To have, when someone wanted to play an instrument, they would look at your teeth, look at your lips, and say, yes, you can, or no, you can't. And it was all hogwash.
A lot of it. Now, there are people, I mean, after 31 years, you see a few of them. They really want to play the flute, and it ain't going to work. You get the sound, we can get the sound, we can get three of them, we can put the finger in the end, make it go up and down,
Shouldn't that be decided after they've tried?
Oh, yeah, they definitely get. How you going to know if you don't try? Yeah.
This idea that you can just look at someone and say,
you're a drummer.
I mean, that doesn't make any sense at all because, I feel the same way about talent, right? There are people who told me that I had no musical talent whatsoever.
One of them wasn't me.
So, and
were you the one that taught me the handshake? The trumpet player's handshake? Hi, I'm Jeff Andrus, and I'm better than you. The people of that mindset that I'm here and you're there, they're going to have that kind of handshake, and they're also probably not going to be the people that you're going to invite to your next dinner party.
So, there's so many times where I've seen as a teacher where they said, oh, this kid's got no talent, you're wasting your time with him, right? And it just wasn't true. What ends up being true is if they believe it. If they hear it. I had a student who would start every lesson terrible. By the end of the lesson, he's made progress again. Resetting every single time. And I finally figured out why. Because his mother always told him, she was a professional pianist.
There you go.
And the mother always told him what a lousy musician, how he had no talent, all this stuff. Right? So he would be in an hour with me. By the end of it, he's got that confidence. Coming back around the next week, he has to start back at zero again because of mentally what's going on with his mom.
I first started teaching when I was in 10th grade. And my first student was a 35-year-old lady who wanted to learn to get good enough on piano to play for church. In 3 years, she made it. Piano, okay? Nowadays, you can put a headset on,
right,
and your classical playing mother doesn't hear every mistake you make, okay? Your sister, who's also taking piano lessons, doesn't hear you trying the same song. I can play it better than you. You don't have any of that. It's the headsets, and they're comfortable. They sound good. It feels good. It's an amazing advance, and I think it has freed up a whole bunch of people to do a whole bunch of other stuff they wouldn't have tried. Now, you asked about multiple instruments. So now you're a band director and you're in a junior high school and you have 12 flutes, 92 clarinets, and 1 trombone. So 2 girls come and they go, is there another instrument we can learn also? Keyword, also. I never quit anything. Also is a great word.
I agree with that.
And both of them became incredible baritone horn players.
Wow.
Good flute. They were good flute players, but they became incredible baritone.
So that's a unusual double, right? Going from flute.
Yeah, it's always flute, clarinet, sax, somewhere in there. Shuffle them.
I heard a flugelhorn player. He didn't play trumpet. A flugelhorn player in Houston that doubled on flute. That's a nice combination, right? He was a jazz guy.
Yeah.
And he would, on some tunes, he'd play his flugel, and other tunes, he'd play the flute. And nice lines, too. I haven't seen him since that one gig, but great player. Yeah. So, any other questions?
Here's one from Janice. What is the meaning of life? Janice, I'm sorry, we're out of time.
Yeah, I see we've got a few people still here. If you have any other questions. We're almost out of time anyway. So
try this one. Here's a question. Ready?
Okay.
When is it time to quit? Not the session, but playing.
I get that question all the time. I don't think. Okay, so you know where the problem comes in is pride. If you used to be a great player and now you're usually because they're older in age, right? And it's not what it was. How they perceive how they're playing now is not as proficient as it was before.
Yeah.
Right? Now, one of the things in my background, being in the El Paso Symphony, this is what I was told. This is not my opinion. If anyone gets offended by this, I'm just saying what I was told. That El Paso was on the B circuit.
Okay.
Meaning that it was the washed up guys and the newcomers. We never had Maurice Andre, but we had Wynton Marsalis when he was 18 or whatever, right? We never had Heifetz, but we had Joshua Bell when he was 16, right? So, but because of the El Paso Symphony, I got to work with these old timers who were maybe a little bit slower, maybe a little less exciting, but what you could feel in their musicianship was unequaled by anything a younger person could possibly do. Right? So to me, the answer is, my short answer is, there's never a time to quit. I had a student that quit because he couldn't hold the horn up. And that's his choice. I'm not saying it was the wrong choice. But he in his age, I think it was in his 80s, in his age, he could not hold the horn up. Now, I told him, you can get a stand that holds the horn up for you. Right? I think that's where the pride thing comes in. That's not the image they have in their head of being a trumpet player. And same thing with some of the old timers that do that have had long, beautiful careers. They don't want to have those imperfections in their playing, even though what they're trading those imperfections for is a depth of
depth
musical
and warmth,
understanding that cannot be, that we don't have access to except for through those people that have been playing that long. You know? So to me, the answer is you don't stop. But they don't always agree with that.
Yeah. Playing piano, I think I play, not classically, but I think I play jazz as well now as I ever have.
Right.
Vocally, you can hear I'm a little hoarse today. I'm getting over something called COVID. If you can avoid it, avoid it. But up until about a month ago, I felt my voice, even in my 70s now, was as strong as it had ever been.
Right.
But it's I can tell it will be what goes first. So I'll just play the piano instead then, because it's fun. And
I really don't think there's a time to quit.
Okay.
Even if you've got, I had a student, and I won't mention the name. Maybe he doesn't approve of me talking about him. Retired band director. And he had something like focal dystonia.
Yeah.
So if you were to put your finger on his jaw,
Yeah.
he would get a shaking jaw.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
And same pressure from the trumpet, and his jaw's going like this.
Oh.
And it sounds to me like a vibrato.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, why don't you just embrace this and accept that you just have a unique vibrato? But he didn't like that.
Yeah.
Right.
I was thinking about one of the things that I love about music. You talked about El Paso Symphony and the different genres of music, and that's one of the things I like about it. We don't all have to walk. We walk alike, we talk alike, we think alike. And walk in lockstep.
Right.
And even within your different styles of music, one isn't. You may like one style better than I like it, and vice versa.
Sure.
But that's to me the richness and the beauty of music. And I, like I say, since I was 5, I've been playing and loving it, and I hope to do it for another 10 years.
Yeah. Or more. Yeah. So, I think I said that it comes to pride, right?
Oh, how about that? Oh, it's a telemarketer.
So I think what happens a lot of times, and this is not a trumpet thing, this is not a music thing, this is a human thing. What happens a lot of times is people don't acknowledge that they have value. Right? So when we talk about the guy that has that depth and that warmth, that could come in no other way except for many, many years of playing. They're not seeing it that way. They're seeing that they're cracking notes and playing out of tune and have an unnatural vibrato. And instead of seeing value in what they do have, they're only focusing on what they don't have because of their age or their whatever weaknesses. That's another thing. I have a video about this. It's not really age, is it? It's health, right? Some people age and don't have health problems, and there's a guy in Houston plays vibraphones.
Okay.
Harry Shepard. You ever heard of Harry Shepard?
No, but I remember
When
Slock.
when you look at the old, I think it's the Benny Goodman band, the old photos of the Benny Goodman band. I think it's Benny Goodman. He's there playing vibes.
Oh, he was a guy.
This guy's in his 90s, I think. And he's still gigging 2-3 times a night.
A night?
Vibraphones. I mean, not a night, a week.
I can feel bad.
Vibraphones. So he's doing all this, you know? The dude is absolutely a bundle of energy, right? And then you have the other guys that I remember, and once again, not saying names, but I used to work with a big band, and the saxophone player, I really enjoyed him. He was a postal worker, and when he quit walking the postal routes, his heart health and all that deteriorated. So he's basically like doing a shuffling up the stage, sits down, plays the gig, shuffles back out, right? Are different. So it's not how old we are. That's when I get that question, that's what people are asking. What age do I need to stop? Most of the problems that we have as we get older can be overcome somehow on the horn. It's just that there's that pride that they've got. They want it to be like before. It can't be like that. It's actually better. I think the way they play now is better. I went to this jam session in Houston many, many years ago at Texas Southern University. That's the primarily African-American university. And it was a lawyer's office upstairs in the hallway. That's where and there was an old man there. One of those guys that would take a breath. Right? His phrases are real short, but there was such beauty in his playing. Such awesome beauty. You could hear that just sitting there, you could hear he's been playing these songs for 60, 70 years, right? And this is one of the reasons why I teach. I told you earlier, I teach what I call the art of accumulative practice. What are we accumulating? We're accumulating familiarity. We're accumulating familiarity with the horn. We're accumulating familiarity with certain techniques. Mm-hmm. We're accumulating familiarity with tunes.
Tunes and changes.
And all of this familiarity. And the reason why I switched to familiarity, because when we think in terms of perfection, it's always the donkey with the carrot. You take a step, and perfection just seems to go a little bit farther than what you just stepped, right? There's no sense of accomplishment when you pursue perfection. When you pursue familiarity, you build this little nest egg that continues every time you pick up your horn to play, your nest egg is getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Bubble wrap we have around us?
So yes, this is why I teach familiarity the way I do. I teach familiarity for chops. I do it for range. I do it for the tunes, music, all of this stuff. And it works better because First of all, when you do it, when you approach it from a stance of familiarity, you never lose it. The more familiar you are, like at that jam session, that man that I heard play might not have played some of those tunes for 20 years.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Right? It wouldn't have mattered. It wouldn't have mattered. Because if you've got 40 years behind that of playing those tunes on a regular basis, it's just going to come out just like it ever did. You know? So that's my thing, is familiarity. And we are 5 minutes over. Anyway, any last questions or last thoughts or anything before we shut down? I want to thank you for joining us. I'm sorry I didn't get it out sooner so that more people would be here. But yeah.
You're welcome.
I used to have a friend. He's passed away, but his name was Buddy Cisco. He goes, Eddie, you were great. How was I? Thank you, Karen. It's nice to see you. All right. So God bless you guys. We'll see you next time. We will probably have one next week, unless I have a gig on Saturday next week that I'm the leader on. And if I get behind on getting everything ready for that, then we might not have a gig. I mean, a Q&A. But probably we will have a Q&A next week. Okay? All right. Well, we'll see you guys next time. Have a great week. And God bless you. Oh, where's the stop button? Oh, end stream. Ah, that's funny.